Hello, and welcome back to The Becoming. Today's episode is a little bit different and it's quite special.
A few weeks ago, we hosted a live training called Why You Feel Stuck, all about the missing piece between knowing
Mhm.
and doing. And the response was incredible. And over time, we realized that the message was simply too important to
Yeah.
leave buried inside a replay. If you've ever wondered why you know what to do, but still can't seem to do it, why mindset work and personal development and even years of therapy sometimes create awareness without creating lasting change, or why you keep finding yourself repeating the same patterns despite your best efforts, this conversation is
Mm.
for you.
In this training, we explore the role of nervous system trauma protection patterns and what it actually takes to create transformation at the root. And if you stay all the way until the end, starting about halfway through, you're going to hear from two incredible women. You're going to hear these very powerful stories that they share from these ladies who have walked the path themselves. Their experiences really beautifully illustrate what becomes possible when we stop managing symptoms and begin addressing the root cause.
Yeah.
So settle in, grab a cup of tea, and join us for this very special episode of The Becoming. Hello, hello, ladies. We are so thrilled to have you here today. We are Kate
And Judy?
and Judy,
Yes.
and we have an amazing training to share with you today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So,
Here we
welcome
go.
to our training today. This is all about the topic of you know what to do. And so, why are you not actually doing it? This is for the high achieving women who are successful on the outside, but still feel held back from the life they really know in their soul that they are meant for. So, we have a lot of ladies who are going to be hopping on the replay. So, if you're on the replay, we want to welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you're here live, we so appreciate you. So, where this really sparked from this particular training, this has been a conversation that we really wish that we had
The answers
the
to,
answers to
like,
like
I don't know, 15 years
15
ago?
years ago. So we've had a business together for the last 14 years. We've had a coaching business. And so over the years, as we have grown our business, we ourselves have felt stuck in various ways. And we have felt so frustrated also with certain clients of ours who will reach a certain level of success and hit up against their own invisible glass ceilings. And so really this training, what we're sharing here today is the search that we have been on, like the desperate search,
Our own experience.
our own experience.
And our
And then,
and our greatest desire was to help other people break through that glass ceiling,
exactly.
and us included.
And so, what we're here to share with you today is really the solution that we personally have found, and that we have been working with our clients with, and this has been the greatest game changer and needle mover of our lives. So we're thrilled to share this with you, truly.
So, we're going to give a quick disclaimer that today's conversation is for educational, storytelling, and harm reduction purposes only. We'll be sharing personal experiences, perspectives, and information about emerging healing approaches, but nothing shared today should be considered medical, mental health, or legal advice. If you feel called to explore this work, do your own research, seek safe and responsible avenues, and above all, trust your own inner wisdom. So, let me ask you, might this feel familiar? You've done the work, you've read all the books, you've done years of therapy, and you've invested in coaching. You've had insights, you've journaled, you've reflected, and built a life that is in many ways really a really good life. You're successful on the outside, but you still feel held back from the inside and from the life that you know that you're meant for. You might notice that a part of you that hesitates when it's time to actually take that next step, who procrastinates on the things that actually matter the most to you, or who pulls back just when things start to expand. And not because you don't want more expansion and a bigger life, because you know you do, but not because you don't know what to do, but because something inside of you, it actually stops you.
So
So
what if nothing's wrong with you?
what if what if actually something is not wrong with you? Because we often take that very personally, like something is wrong with me, but what if nothing is actually wrong with you?
So maybe you've wondered, I mean, this is something that we ourselves have asked ourselves and that we've had so many conversations with clients where this is revealed, where they're asking themselves, why do I keep getting in my own way no matter how much work I've done on myself? I don't know if you relate to that.
Mhm.
Why can't I just stop playing small? Like we hear out there in this personal development world, all about us playing small.
Stop
Just
playing
stop
small.
playing small. Like you're doing the world a disservice if you're playing small, which is not necessarily an incorrect statement. But we're going to consider this throughout this training here. Why does this feel so much harder for me than it does for other people? And what is wrong with me? So, what if we have been getting this completely wrong all along the way? We've taken protection because that is what we are going to be talking about here today is that at the core of all of this
Mhm.
is safety and protection, which is the body's number one most important objective. So what if we have taken protection and we've labeled it as playing small, as self-sabotage, as lack of discipline, but these are actually protective adaptations that the body goes into. What if these are not personal or moral failures?
We take these adaptations honestly for safety
We
reasons.
do. Yep.
So, this is the big lie that you've been told. The personal development world has taught most of us that if we want to change our lives, we need to think differently. We need to be more disciplined.
Mhm.
We need to get out of our own way. We need to stop playing small and be working on our mindset, which is not necessarily untrue, but there's a bigger story to this.
Exactly.
But what if that's not really the main problem here? What if the real reason you haven't been able to fully step into that next level that you desire?
Mhm.
What if it doesn't have to do with just your thinking and it has everything to do with, guess what? Your nervous system.
Mhm. So let's look at what's actually going on under the surface here. And again, this is the conversation that we wish that we had heard like 15 years ago.
Mm.
And I really, even though a conversation about the nervous system is becoming so much more popularized now, this particular conversation is still not one that I feel is really being had out there.
It's not necessarily mainstream.
Exactly.
It's newer. Yeah.
So for so many women, the issue is not a lack of insight, discipline, desire, or ambition. Like again, and you can check in with yourself. Like
Mhm.
most of the women that come to us or that are in our sphere, these are very ambitious women who are also incredibly capable, and they've built a really great life for themselves. Maybe they've been in therapy, in coaching. Again, all like had all of the personal insights,
Mhm.
might even be able to tell us like about all of the different moving pieces of their childhood and how it impacts their life today. Like they have the insight, um, but the issue is that is not about an it's not an insight issue. The issue is that their nervous system are organized around survival patterns shaped by personal and inherited trauma. Their nervous system is operating in a state of protection, survival, and safety. All of our nervous
Yeah.
systems. This is the great objective of the nervous system is protection and safety.
It's the job of
It
the nervous
is.
system
It is.
to keep this body that we are inhabiting alive
And safe.
and safe, and maybe not though well, shall I
Maybe
say?
not well.
Maybe
No,
not well.
like the objective isn't thriving.
Right.
The objective is survival.
Survival.
Yeah,
And I think many of us here today would, consider that survival, that thriving is where we wanna really live our lives, not just surviving.
exactly.
Yeah. So the behaviors that we all label perhaps as playing small, they're not choices that we make. They are protective adaptations, which means that expansive can feel being expansion
Expansion.
expansion can feel really unsafe.
Yeah.
And that sense of visibility, especially on social media, when we get bigger, we more people see us,
Yeah.
it can literally trigger shutdown. And going after for what you truly desire can literally create resistance that does not make logical sense to your brain.
Yeah.
Now, this is not a flaw, it's a pattern that your body learned through a lifetime of experiences and often including generations before you.
Yeah.
And this is why insight, knowing about it, is not literally enough. You can know exactly what needs to change. You can have that awareness and still find yourself not doing it and wondering, what is wrong with me? Not because there is something wrong with you, but because your body just doesn't feel safe enough to follow through.
Hmm. So I'm just going to stop screen sharing here for just a moment so we can look at you ladies. But anyway, for so many years, we thought that our problem was mindset too. Um,
That's what we were literally taught.
Exactly. So 14 years ago, Judes and I decided to join forces together. We got certified as life coaches, and at the time, you had been
A hospice nurse.
you'd been a hospice nurse.
Yes.
I had just moved back from Italy, where I was studying and working, and both of us were like at this particular juncture in our lives where it was like, okay, what are we doing with this life thing
I
here?
know, no.
And you were
And it wasn't that we were living a bad life,
no.
but that we wanted more. We wanted more contribution.
Well, and that's the thing is that we always really desired to help people and to specifically help women.
Yeah.
And so we were certified, we linked arms, we're like these brand new little baby life coaches, like wanting to light the world on fire, so excited. And over the years, what I will say is that we created a lot of success. So we created a successful coaching business. We then later went on to build a team. We built a team of like 10,000 people in a network marketing business. We worked with women personally. We worked with them in their businesses. And and I know that we helped many, many people. And yet, in our own personal lives, we continue to feel so frustrated that we were hitting up against our own glass ceiling, that we would like
And
reach a
yeah,
certain level of success, but we just couldn't break through to the other side of it.
and we witnessed that in our clients.
Exactly.
And that was the one thing that we really wanted to, like,
Crack that code.
crack that code, and crack that glass ceiling because we needed to do it for ourselves. And it wasn't that we weren't not, as you said, weren't
Yeah.
having success, but it was like we wanted to be able to see this for our clients
And we really
as well.
wanted to be able to have the level of impact that we always knew in our bones that we could have, and you might relate to
I
this
was just gonna
as
say that.
well.
Yeah.
Again, it's not that like many of us are not living decent lives, but there's like more expression there, more fulfillment, more contribution that just we continue to feel stuck with.
Well, and I'm gonna say, I think that if we all get quiet within ourselves, we know that part of ourselves, that it's not like we're not grateful for the lives we live
Yeah.
and that that we're not having success, but we know those secret places within ourselves that I could be doing more, and I
Yeah.
know that I'm actually holding myself back. Nobody else knows that because it's my dirty little secret,
And
but
like we all want to like look good on the
oh,
outside.
we do,
So
and I'm not gonna show up vulnerable, right? I'm gonna want to look good. I mean, I think that we all can relate to that. Again, that goes back to the nervous system. It's a sense of safety.
yeah.
It's not safe to often be open and vulnerable with those little parts of us that we know that we're being held back, that we are holding ourselves back.
Right. There were also things for me where, like, over the years, because again, the world that we were in, of coaching, which is also very similar to the world of therapy, where
Mm.
we dig deep, we look at personal insights, maybe we look at our past, we kind of understand what in the past has impacted where we are right now.
What's contributed.
And
Mm.
so, like, for me, I know that I had done so much work where I had really, like, pulled all of these different pieces out, like puzzle pieces, and they were, like, laid out on the table. And so, while we're, like, working on our business and our contribution at the same time, like, kind of my dirty little secret is that, like, I had this string of relationships with unavailable and often toxic men. And I, like, knew that that was connected to some of my stuff in my childhood with my dad. Went to therapy, I'm in coaching, like, doing, like, working on,
Well,
like,
you should know better,
I
Kate.
should I'm the coach
You're
here.
the coach. Uh-oh.
So I knew what it was connected to, but that still didn't mean that I could stop it. And it would be like, how did I end up with the same man like 5 times in a row? Like,
Just
it
variations of
didn't
the
kill
same.
me the first time, so I decided to do it 4 more times. Another piece too, because we just really want to share, like, this is something that with the work that we do with women, it shows up in all areas of our lives. So for me also, I always carried more weight than I felt that I wanted to, than like was actually right for my body. And it didn't matter if I how much I worked out, how clean I was eating.
You're always eating clean.
I always ate so it and it didn't matter, and I also was, like, aware that that was probably connected to some sort of a safety issue, but it's like, well, great, but how do I fix it?
Well, because you read all the books and you it
So, like, I've made the connection, I get it,
there's a correlation there.
and I will share that after my first experience with, the healing modality that we're gonna share, I literally, over the span of a few months, I, like, literally melted off 30 pounds of my body, which was wild.
It dissolved.
It just dissolved. And then, like, for you,
So for me, talking about dirty little secrets,
yeah,
my dirty little secret was,
we're coming clean
I know
here.
we're coming clean here. And I won't go into the whole thing because, we don't need to go into the whole story. But I grew up in a family where I had, a an older sister, 5 years older, and, 2 parents. And I, as the younger sister, always felt small, that I was not taken seriously. Judy was really cute, but but she just what she wasn't really taken seriously, and that my sister took center stage. And that started from very early on. I mean, I had my sister in my life since day one.
Mhm.
And so I took that personally. Like they might have thought that maybe I was really cute and whatever. Um, but I took it personally that something was wrong with me because I wasn't taken seriously, that I really wasn't heard. I didn't feel like I was acknowledged. And so I felt small. So, therefore, in my life, going through life, how could I possibly be a big leader in this industry of coaching that we started, what,
Mhm.
14 years ago, with this little dirty little secret in here that I feel actually kind of small?
Mhm.
No one would necessarily know it from the outside. That's the truth because I hid it well. But there was a part of me that didn't think that my voice mattered
Mhm.
because I had a sister who stole the show, or that my parents focused on what she had to say and that I was somewhat dismissed. That's what I took on. And when a child takes that on as truth, then that lives within in the nervous system as they grow and evolve into a young woman, into an adult, into a woman who's working and trying to build a coaching business and other businesses. That needs to be healed in order to have the sense of freedom to be oneself and to really make the impact.
So what I know is that you did have some awareness that, like, this was impacting your
Oh, well,
success.
I shall say that it plagued me. I didn't understand it. I
Mhm.
literally didn't understand it because in other areas of my life, I actually, when my sister was not involved, I was kind of a natural leader.
Mhm.
Um, but inside there, when the stakes were really big for me, for something that really mattered to me, I diminished myself. I doubted myself. And I knew that, and it plagued me
But you
And
didn't know how to fix
but
it.
I didn't know how to fix it, and I surely was not gonna really tell anybody. I mean, you kind of had an idea about that, but not to the rawness,
Right.
right?
Totally.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the other thing that I will share is that recently we shared on social media that for the last 6 months or so, or a little bit more, we've been working towards getting visas to pick up our lives in the United States and move and fully relocate to Italy. And what I know is, so this is something that I lived in Italy for 5 years back in the day. I got to study there. And this has been a dream that we've had for like 8 or 9 years. And we've made multiple attempts at this over the years. And now that we finally are on the other side of like getting the visas
Actually,
accepted, and we're about 6 weeks out from the move itself, when I look back on, like, to the as we always say, to the untrained eye, it might appear to the outside world that the reason that we didn't do this before is like, "Oh, well, you just didn't, there maybe wasn't a path for your visa, and now there is, so you just walk through the door and you just got her done."
well, which isn't untrue that there was not a path for the visa. However,
What we really now can see is that the reason that this didn't happen until this particular juncture has everything to do with the level of expansion and also the level of uncertainty that we are able to tolerate.
because there's a good amount of uncertainty when one embarks on this journey. And we did not have the container to be able to hold this level of uncertainty.
Yeah,
That fear was the one that was running the show. When we would get to a certain place, it's like that glass ceiling, that's what's running the show. When we bump up against it,
totally.
we had to grow ourselves, our capacity to hold greater good. And it just so happened simultaneously that a digital nomad visa became the avenue, the path for us to actually walk this through. But we would not even have made it to the consulate, Kate.
No.
I don't know what it would have stopped us except that we were not gonna be able to hold that.
And so it was a couple of years ago that after years and years and years of searching, continuing to do like take all the programs, work with all the different mentors, work on ourselves, continue to work with mindset and identity, that we finally were introduced to this particular healing modality that we're going to share with you in just a little bit. And this is what finally swung the door open for us after years and years.
Well, I don't know if you're gonna share this, but I just wanted to say briefly here that we had gotten to a place, um, of quiet desperation,
Right.
honestly, that we really had, that we knew that our greatest desire was to really lead other women in their lives and to help them to become successful, help them to find the freedom in their lives. Like this big message, like ladies, we can all live much bigger lives. This is what we're here to do. And but we knew that we had to lead first,
Mm,
and that there was this little dirty little secret, like, God, have we done this to the capacity that we really
mm,
know to be true, that
mm.
we can then pass that on? And we were looking at each other and thinking, "I'm not quite so sure."
Right.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then we were introduced to this modality
Yeah.
that, changed everything.
Yeah. So women carry intergenerational trauma around visibility, power, and safety.
We all do,
This is
just
something
in
that
case you didn't know.
again, I really wish that I had really understood at the degree that I now understand it
Mhm.
many years ago, because this would have changed the game.
Yeah.
So, ladies, our bodies, our beautiful, precious female bodies, they have received messages for years and years and years, long before our minds actually understood, have un- ever could understand them. So, some of these messages are: don't shine too bright, don't be too much, don't take up too much space, don't be too visible, stay safe.
Can you relate? Women have received messages around power, around visibility, and safety for generations. Just for a moment, think back on your mother,
Mhm.
on your grandmothers, if you were lucky enough to know them. What the generations experienced before you around power, visibility, and safety.
Mhm.
Women, as it turns out, got the right to vote f- in 1920. That was how many years ago, Kate?
106 years ago.
106 years ago, ladies. Women couldn't open a credit card or a mortgage without a man until 1974. Marital rape was outlawed only in 1993. So, can you see a little bit of a pattern here? How women have been diminished over time? Women still only earn 81 to 84% of what men earn, with minorities earning far less than that.
Mhm.
And powerful, outspoken women and healers have historically been punished and exiled, silenced, and even killed, burned at the stake.
Burned at the stake.
So these messages, whether they've been spoken or unspoken, they shape our bodies. They live within our genetic code.
Mhm.
And how we then learn about our own power, whether
Mhm.
we are safe to even be visible, that we diminish ourselves just to stay safe.
Mhm.
So all of these communicate that we are worth less than men. So no wonder part of you hesitates and holds back and shrinks and maybe stays silent.
Like, truly, is there any wonder that maybe we've all had some challenges with visibility, with shining, with speaking our voice?
And we're not even necessarily aware where it started because all this happened w- at a time that was pre-verbal for us. And we witnessed the women before us living those lives.
So, what this is a conversation about, ladies, and this is really what we're here to open up, is that this is a conversation all about trauma. So, trauma is really not what most of us have been led to believe that, like the cultural conversation out
Mhm.
in about trauma. This is a very different conversation. So, most women have gone through far more than they give themselves permission to acknowledge. And I just want you to like really take this in
And,
as we share
and
this.
really hear this.
So we tend to minimize our pain by saying things like, other people had it worse. It wasn't that bad. I should just be over it by now. And just really ask yourself, have you potentially diminished the things that you have endured and gone through in your history? Trauma is not defined by the event. This is something that's interesting, is that trauma is actually not what happened to you. Trauma is what happened inside of you as a result of what happened.
And what you made up about it.
So it could have been you feeling like you were alone with it, that there was no one to actually turn to about what was going on, that it was just completely normalized, or it was
Ignored,
ignored
brushed
entirely.
under the table.
And so the trauma is actually, I was alone with this. Like I didn't have anyone to turn to.
Yeah. So there are two types of trauma, the big T and the little t trauma. And this is why we often don't feel like we really necessarily have had the trauma that other people have, or that we don't deserve to have the ramifications of the trauma because we have not had the big abuse, the assault, the major loss in the big T, severe neglect, accidents, death in the family, um, that we don't allow ourselves to relate to the little T's because, well, I didn't have that
Yeah,
in my
exactly.
life. But
Exactly.
my guess is you've had plenty of the little T's: criticism, rejection, emotional invalidation, bullying, abandonment, feeling unsafe, and never feeling enough. You add those up, and that's a lot of T's.
It is.
Yeah.
And both of these shape how we move through the world. So big T and little t, like we don't want to downplay or diminish the little t trauma because it's just as real and it has left just as much of an impact.
We have a puppy barking.
Sorry.
Yes, yes. It's nothing. It's nothing.
So trauma can also come from what didn't happen, the things that should have happened, but didn't happen.
And this is just as significant as what happened.
Exactly. So not feeling seen, not feeling safe, not being protected, not being emotionally supported, and not feeling fully loved and celebrated for who you were.
And I'm going to often say that not feeling protected, that things occurred in a family that we had to learn to cope with ourselves, and there was not an adult in the room
Yeah.
who was actually flying the plane.
Yep. Yep.
That was there to talk with us about it.
Yeah.
But things just got brushed under the rug and normalized.
Exactly.
And we're left as these little kids trying to like figure this out, watching the adults deal with this
Or not deal with this at all.
or not deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't just carry this personally, we carry patterns from, yes, our own personal experiences in our lifetimes, from our families. So, as Jude said, think about your mother, your grandmothers, your great grandmothers, your aunts, your sisters, your own daughters, perhaps.
Yeah.
So, from our families, the generations that go before us, but then also the collective experience of women. So, as we're talking about, historically, systemically, for literally millennia, women have been treated less than men. They've been treated like second-class citizens,
Because
as they've
yeah.
been treated as property. And so, again, no wonder it's like, so here we are at this juncture, this beautiful juncture in human history where there's so much expansion, and like you have so much expansion inside of you, whatever those desires are that you have to live a great life. Well, no wonder there are maybe some conflicting feelings inside of you about like, I have like these great ambitions, but here's all this stuff that you're actually carrying inside of your nervous system if you weren't aware of it until now.
And the truth of it is too, is the world has just because we've caught up to like our own worthiness, hopefully,
Or we're working on
or
it.
we're working on it,
Yep.
you know, saying, and it's always a work in progress. The rest, not necessarily the whole world is caught up to that. There's still
Yes.
a narrative out there that women are worth less. And that has been the whole, in this century, the whole women's movement,
Hmm.
um, starting with the suffragettes,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So we don't just, ki-
It's this last piece here.
okay.
Yeah.
So our bodies inherit stories, okay, long before we understood them.
Yeah.
We inherited this. We watched our grandmothers and their relationships with their husbands. Many of us watched our mothers with their relationships with our fathers. Maybe it could be time to consider that maybe you are not just playing small. Maybe you've learned how to protect yourself.
Hmm. Yeah.
And the struggles we uniquely have as women are honestly, what if they are just not a lack of discipline or desire? That we've kind of felt that maybe something's wrong with me, that I just don't have the discipline,
Mm.
or I don't want it enough.
Mm.
It's not mindset. It's not motivation. It's not because you're lazy. For so many of us, expansion triggers this deep primal fear that being visible is absolutely not safe, that taking up space is not safe, and being powerful comes with consequences. So, why wouldn't you, might might not you want to become visible? It's not even conscious. It lives in your nervous system.
And it is pretty invisible, and it's in the subconscious, and so it's not even something that we are consciously
No.
aware of, like where we hit a new level of good or expansion, and something will happen where it dials us down. So why nothing else has worked in the past? This is something to really that's super fascinating. So in the world of um, s- this like trauma informed world, there are two approaches to understand. So one is the top down approach, and the other is the bottom up approach. And what this is really referring to is the way that our brains have been constructed over, the millennia of that. The first layer of our brain is our primal reptilian brain. So this is the brain stem that has everything to do with like
Survival.
respiration, heartbeat, etc.
Mhm.
And so that was the first layer of the brain. And then the limbic brain occurred. And so, and this is like, again, this is the subconscious. Both of those are the subconscious. And then we have the prefrontal cortex, which is the most recent part of our brain to develop in the last like 100,000 years. And that is where we have like rational processing. So the top down approach.
Which that's where that comes from.
So
Yeah.
the top down approach is traditional coaching, therapy. It's like it's the talk therapy where we gain insights, we through things, we look through things and we gain insight.
And awareness.
So we're sort of almost like observers of the experience or the behaviors, and that's the top down, and that's what the vast majority of approaches are, is top
Yeah.
down.
That's when we're figuring it out.
The bottom up is something that is in trauma therapy, is really where the magic happens. So this is starting from the nervous system. There's a lot of conversation around like polyvagal theory, and this has everything to do with our nervous system, and it's directly linked to our brainstem. It's linked to our limbic system, and so this is bringing safety, feelings of safety, security, and healing into the nervous system first, and it's not where our rational thoughts live. So this is the bottom up approach. But here's the key: is that real lasting change requires both. So if you have been doing the top down for so many years and you're like, why have I not had the level of breakthrough that I should be having at this point?
I mean,
This is why.
that's the thinking brain.
So the key is that we don't need to stop doing the mindset work. And if you have spent years doing that, I want you to know, like, none of that's been wasted, because all of that is a contributor. But we need to stop expecting the mindset work to do the whole job, because it just can't.
You cannot think your way out of a body that doesn't feel safe. That's just the bottom line. Insight, the thinking alone does not create change. We have to actually feel safe before we allow ourselves to expand.
Mhm.
And so it's the nervous system, and this is not something that we're necessarily aware of.
Right.
We are not
This
aware
is
of.
not a
It's
conscious
not. It
awareness.
does not come from the prefrontal cortex. It comes from the limbic system,
Yeah.
the emotional brain. And so it's Kate, what you're sharing is top down, bottom up approach.
That's the sweet spot. We got to do both.
And believe it or not, I mean, it literally begins with the bottom
It
down.
does. It
It's
does.
the primal part of us.
You can think about it, it's like when you're building a house, you don't start with the roof, you start with the foundation. So if we
Mm.
don't start with the foundation and the basement, it doesn't matter how many stories we try and stack on, or like, how many window treatments we put up, or like tiling we do. It's not ever going to, like, those are all the finishing touches. But it's not going to be a house that can stand.
You cannot build a roof unless the foundation is solid.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, what if this, ladies, isn't simply a mindset problem? What actually creates change?
Hmm.
So, if protection is the problem, which we've identified, then safety becomes the solution.
Underscore this.
Underscore safety becomes the solution. There are always ways to work with an there are lots of ways to work with the nervous system directly.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful tools that we found for working directly with the nervous system, as Kate was saying, in our 14 years of working with thousands of individuals, we have never seen another tool create this level of breakthrough in such a short amount of time. And that's honestly the truth. We're going to be sharing with you a powerful and emerging approach to healing that actually literally works with your nervous system. It's called MDMA-assisted work.
So, what actually is MDMA? So, MDMA is classified in the world of psychedelic healing. However, it's actually, even though it's classified as a psychedelic along with things like psilocybin or ketamine, or like there's like a new one that like
I
Oprah keeps talking about. Is it ibogaine?
oh, I don't know. Yeah. Or ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca,
Mhm,
San Pedro,
mhm.
etc., mescaline. So what's different is that MDMA is not hallucinogenic. It's what's called an empathogen. So, what it creates inside of the body is a tremendous feeling of love, compassion, acceptance, and safety. So, again, it's not a hallucinogenic experience. You really feel like your best, most grounded, most compassionate self inside of this state.
Your most safe self.
Exactly. So it is a psychoactive compound, and it has been studied for literally decades, um, with around work around trauma, PTSD, anxiety, depression, and emotional healing. But the most important piece is that it creates a state of profound safety in the body.
And that's why it works.
So, why does it work so differently than other things out
Mhm,
there?
mhm.
So, MDMA temporarily quiets the brain's fear and protective response. And what that is it's in our limbic system, and it's called the amygdala. This is the fear center of our brain. And this is what often puts us into basically like a state of functional freeze. This is where we've had many clients come to us who are in this freeze state, and it's really like their amygdala is holding on so tightly, and they have this experience, and it finally can like soften and relax and dissolve. And so when we have the fear and protective mechanism like on
Hampered.
ice sitting in the corner, then we can experience these feelings of safety and connection and openness and compassion. Um, and this is where you can finally approach the parts of yourself that you've been protecting yourself from without even knowing it. Again, this is all happening in the
It's a subconscious
subconscious.
mind. So imagine this. What if you could actually revisit painful memories without actually literally having to relive them? For many people, this is the first time they can look at difficult experiences without their nervous system immediately going into shutdown or collapse. That in turn then allows them to process these past experiences that up until now have been somewhat even, unconscious, or I just don't want to look at that kind
Mhm.
of thing, and actually begin to resolve them in their nervous system from a place of nervous system safety, because the amygdala, the brain that is the fear brain, is quieted down. So it's not the one that's going
Yeah.
and stopping. You allow yourself to actually experience something, and it's not something that is too big for you to be able to handle.
The other thing that we see a lot is that the quote unquote memories that someone has experienced
Mhm.
might not even be memories that they have stored inside of their brain, because they might even be pre-verbal experiences that happened really, really early, but it doesn't mean that they didn't leave lasting impacts or lasting scars. And so a lot of what this work too, it unlocks the memories that are not the ones stored in the brain as much as in the body,
Yeah.
that were the pre-verbal memories.
Somatic memories. So, what does it actually feel like? So, most people actually describe it,
They do not describe
do,
it.
do not describe it, because absolutely not, um, as a sense of being out of control or
Yeah.
hallucinate. You're not going to be seeing things, um, or any kind of a disconnection. Most people feel very deeply open, safe, feeling like their most authentic self, a sense of calm and peace,
Mhm.
and feeling these deep and profound feelings of love and compassion. And I will say, just it's like kind of the world up until this moment actually all makes sense. There's something very connected about it. Like, "Oh, okay, I get it. I get why those experiences happened. I get that that was part of my path."
Mm,
That I hear that that was my own experience,
totally.
but I hear that from a lot of
So do
people.
I.
It just makes sense. It's not like, "Oh, I don't understand that." No, everything begins to connect.
A lot of what I hear too is women will admit to me that they like when we're getting on, their intention call before their
Mhm,
journey, like, I don't even know if I really know who I am, and
mhm,
I'm not sure that I actually like myself.
mhm,
And we go through their journey, and then we are on the other side, we're in the integration, and they're like, "I
mhm.
feel like I had, like, a guided experience with my true authentic self. Like, I actually feel like I'm now getting to know myself for the first time in my life." And these are women in their
Yeah.
40s, 50s, 60s, 70s that have gone decades without actually really feeling like they know themselves.
Well, and often it's because we have taken on identities based on other people's of opinions of us, um, or that have been projected onto us because of their own unprocessed work.
Totally.
And so, like, oh, I actually really like who I am. Well, that's
Imagine that.
imagine that.
I
Yeah.
know. So, what becomes possible? This is the question. If you're really thinking about this for yourself, like what might be possible on the other side of this?
Hmm.
So, through this work, we have witnessed profound shifts in areas like self worth, trauma healing, relationships with yourself, with other people,
Healing.
anxiety and depression,
Hmm.
emotional freedom, purpose and clarity, huge amount of clarity around purpose. And then just overall greater ease, vitality, and deeper connection with the body. Healing truly becomes possible when we stop fighting ourselves. And again,
Hmm.
you're not consciously fighting yourself, but you
You're
are
not doing it on purpose.
but your expansion up until now has been in direct conflict with your body's determination to keep you safe.
Yeah.
So, we're going to open this conversation up with two amazing ladies right now. Tian, we're going to start with you. So, we really want to explore what becomes possible when safety replaces protection. There she is. So, these are two incredible women who have done this work with us. And truly, the shifts that we have seen in their lives are nothing less than miraculous and staggering. And this is really what is possible when our nervous systems finally feel safe enough to let go. So I'm going to stop screen sharing here
So we're going to see,
so we can see Tian, and let me
make
pin
her.
you here. There we go. Hello, darling.
Hi, hi, nice to
Hi,
see you guys.
you
See you.
too.
Thank you so much for being here.
Ah,
Absolutely.
So, Tian, give us a little snapshot of what your life was like before you started this work, before we came knocking on your door and said,
I
"So
know.
Dad,
guess
there's this
what?
there's this thing that I think you're really gonna wanna try."
I know. I remember that. I remember that feeling of like, are you guys okay? Like,
What happened?
um,
Hey, Judy.
yeah, yeah. And I
Oh,
remember I joke with you about like the plastered on smile, like, oh my God, this is not for me. I don't do things like that. But I do think there was enough of a like you, I've been in this field for a long time. I actually knew for a long time that the self help industry was not where it was at, and it was starting to do a lot more damage
Mm,
than I felt comfortable with.
mhm,
Um, and I just there was there's just other things that just annoying. I just kept feeling this not enough gnawing,
mhm,
and I had just really come to a place where it was I divine intervention. You guys were there at the right time when I was just like, I can't keep going on with the same because I've been totally committed to doing all the things, that you talked about the mindset and just getting over myself. So, after I learned more and thought this really isn't for me, um, I couldn't quite shake it. And then when I was like, you know what? I honestly at this point don't have anything to lose.
Mhm.
And it changed my life.
Yeah. Well, T, and I remember what angst that you were actually experiencing because of a love that you have had for your whole life around writing, and that
Hmm.
you are a beautiful writer, and that there was something that was holding you back from expressing, like you just couldn't get into the groove of what you knew you were supposed to do,
Hmm.
And that you actually wanted to
and
do.
you wanted to do it, but you just like, "I don't know why I can't do this." And it was I just remember the pain and the angst
Yeah.
that you had around that.
Yes.
And from my perspective, that was almost like the catalyst. It said, "Okay, I'm so uncomfortable here, like, I gotta do something."
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think um the most it's hard to describe the most transformational thing about all this is that now I don't have all the angst around the writing. I no
Exactly.
longer have the angst around even um my career. It's like there's not all this chatter.
Mhm.
And so what it's allowed me to do is not become less ambitious. It's just helped me get rid of all the things that I thought mattered. Um,
All the
the
sugar.
writing matters, but I don't feel like I have to, like this is the only talent I had. In fact, a lot of it just fell away.
Yeah.
Um, and so then it was for me more around standing a bit like the emperor, a little naked. Who am I if I'm not beating myself up that my business should look like this? I should make this amount of money. I should have this many clients or all the rubrics for what it looked like to be successful. And what ended up happening is that with all this sloughing off of the expectations, I could get really curious around what actually would quietly light me up. And so while I haven't had a complete career change, I have shifted considerably in my education. I'm getting recertified for things that 2 years ago I never ever ever would have thought possible. Um in fact, I would have probably suggested that I would run away from what I'm doing now. And
If
yet
you'd
this
like
is
to share how you've been redirected, you're welcome to.
yeah, so I
Exciting.
basically went from life coaching. What I really was realizing in my life through all this was just how much grief we were carrying, what our nervous systems were holding. And so the grief and then the being able to hold the space for really sacred conversations around death. Um, that was not something that I could sit with. As you brought up earlier, my capacity to sit with uncertainty is um is so broad. Um I suppose there's some like things that I don't want to experience in that uncertainty, but by and large I wouldn't have expected to be able to sit with the uncertainty of like, you know what, my career can handle a pause while I retrain and put out an additional shingle. Right now I'm deciding, do I want an additional or do I just want the sole
Mhm.
shingle? Um, but for me, it completely cut out all the noise around I should be writing. I should have this scalable business. That's not how I work.
Mm.
So it's really coming from a soul level of, um, I don't believe I was put here solely to write. My soul now is like, I am put here to sit with uncertainty and to be able to discern what is truly best for me. You bring up nervous system, what actually brings me peace while also challenging me. So it's not like everything is just this Zen moment. I'm still having to challenge myself, as you know, like it's not always easy being squeezed from the tube. You can't always go back.
Yeah.
Um,
You mean you're still human?
yeah, yeah. But there's just a lot more grace that I give myself, I give other people. Um, it's like I can see more clearly now how trying to work on myself just ended up tying me up in knots instead of stepping into myself. Um, and I know it all sounds, if you're unfamiliar, it sounds like, wait a minute, that's too good to be true. I remember you saying the work isn't so much in the session, it's after the session. And I remember being like, I don't want that. I want, and it does keep unfolding. It really truly keeps unfolding. Um, it's, yeah, it did change my life.
Yeah. And I can feel it.
Hmm.
Sense of peace within
Yeah.
is palpable. And those
Yeah.
and not that you were this crazy person beforehand that was the but the angst.
Hmm.
It's we know it's all energy anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Your energy
Yeah.
is lovely to be around.
Yeah. Why, thank you.
Well, and you and your husband, Jim, did some of this work together, and I know that that
Hmm.
was a
You
huge
did
turning point for the 2 of you.
in your relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really afraid to do that because you're so uh you're so able to talk about really your deepest vulnerabilities,
Mhm.
things that in the past might have really brought up a lot of anger. Um, and I didn't know how, we didn't know how it was going to go. Um, and yet we we just got right in there. And I mean, I remember jumping in feet first, like,
Here we go.
here we go. Let's talk about the hard stuff.
Let's
Let's
do it.
continue. And I remember at the very end, saying, wait a minute, let's go back and talk about everything one more time to make sure that this is all tied up neatly. That absolutely contributed to my sense of peace. There's just things that just we shrug. It's just like not things that were incredibly important
Mm.
Yeah.
are just we're just like so beyond it. Doesn't come up. There isn't like, oh, we need a boundary, or there's just none of that is happening anymore. Um, which queued us up for success with natural challenges that we've had with health and other things. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a true lifesaver too.
Yeah. Mm.
What would you have, from your vantage point today, talking to the TN that was first introduced to this, that was skeptical and guarded and thinking like these women are off the rails and like this is not for me. what would you want to tell that woman today?
Or maybe you were a little scared. Were you a little bit like
Mhm.
frightened about like, well, I don't know what's going to come up, or I'm not sure about, this medicine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would tell her, first of all, the medicine, there's no psychedelics. You're safe. Um, you just can look objectively. Sometimes I sit on my couch and I look out this window that I remember always kind of looking out during that and being like, wow, I looked out there and yet I was always looking in. And it was as if you were looking out the window of just life going on, and yet it was all interior. So there was no bad trip kind of stuff. The fear that I had around what would be brought up, I really wanted to cling really tightly to like fix my writing.
Mhm.
Um,
Right. I remember that.
and um, and that really didn't come up. Other stuff came up.
It wasn't the most important thing,
Shocking,
evidently. I know.
right? And um and yet there's no pain. I'm trying to think. I suppose maybe I shed a tear, maybe. Um, but you could just look so uh with such perspective on things that really deeply hurt. By doing that, I saw things for the very first time. Things that I didn't even know I was carrying. And those were the blocks. And I could have done therapy until my dying day, and I would not have gotten to this moment of technicolor, um, where you actually started seeing the source, and not only being able to see it, being able to go, huh, wow, oh my God, there it is. And and that's not to say that later there wasn't a lot of work to be done processing. I think it was my second journey where it sort of spilled out that there had been a lot of family trauma that I didn't realize that it even existed. I had done such a good job of keeping up appearances on the outside that I was matching that on the inside. Um, One thing, it's kind of hard to describe, but I would have these like drop down slides of abusive moments in my childhood. And they would just slide down. I could see them in my head and I would just push them up, and they would just come and go all day long like the air I was breathing. So the first session, we didn't even get there. And then I had one with my husband, and that really wasn't on the docket. And I think it was then my third session, my second solo session, that you guys were like, wait
Whoa!
a minute, back it up.
I don't think that
That
we
came
missed that
Right,
previous one.
right. And even I was like,
you guys missed
oh
something
yeah, there's this thing that happened. Um,
like,
and so the drop downs, like I started seeing those drop downs, um, as if it was a movie instead of these individual slides. I heard audio. There was no audio with it. Um, and it was really horrible, while also, I was one of those, but it could be worse. Overall, I had a lot. So really processing, not as a way of blaming. I think that's also really helpful, is that even with this, there's not, it doesn't come with blame. It really comes with self-discovery of like, oh, that makes sense. And so afterwards, there was a lot of like, now what do I do with this? And I think when you talk about how the healing happens afterwards, it's because you have this choice. You have so much more agency when you're meeting the resistance or this old pattern, you're like, oh, but that's just this thing that happened. And now how do I want to go forward? So it also allowed me to redefine what peace felt like, what my career looked like. Um, that really is every day still for me. Part of it is society, like it has to look like this. But now I'm like, gosh, the quietness of instead of scaling into this big business, which is what we're told, just how powerful it is to meet someone on a soul level, um, is incredible in terms of what I'm here to do. So again, just the chatter, who's important, what's important, just so much of the noise fell away.
Mm.
I mean, I completely relate. It's amazing
Yeah.
when we really have this encounter finally with our most authentic self, and the expectations and the pressures and the judgments of the outside world can just collapse. They can just
Mhm.
fall,
It doesn't
and it just
matter.
doesn't matter
It doesn't
anymore.
matter.
And we get to be with us. And we actually find that we really love being with us and that we're a safe place to be with inside
Hmm.
of ourselves. We're not looking into the eyes of everyone else to approve of us. The
Right.
relief of this
Is
is
tremendous.
unmatched.
That we are good with ourselves. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
wrote. Like, I'm good with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there isn't need to chase perfection like this. And this is part of the work that I've done post is just like, what are our souls here to do? And I'll tell you, they're not here to just
Hmm.
chase, 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 try to be everything for everyone. And being able to step in that space really imperfectly and being able to go back and see your own actions, um, and some of the bits that you're like, oh, like you were talking about, like, ooh, could have been better. Like, wow, um, and go, but it is who I am. I did this thing, these things, and actually I'm I'm here because of it or in spite of it. And I just don't think I could have had I don't know that there's any other way I could have seen the possibility without
Uh,
without experiencing this.
Us too.
I I don't either, Tian. I mean, I know for us, but I'm knowing you, I mean, just, um, we knew you before,
Mhm.
and you've always been a beautiful, amazing human. And
So interesting and insightful and
yes,
interested in the
capable,
world, and like just had so like this depth always. That was always who we experienced you as.
but not to this degree,
No.
not to
Right.
this degree. And the clarity that you have, Tian, about this, that you were redirected, um,
Yeah.
and that was not your expectation at all.
Mhm.
At all. I know one of my best friends, I told her that um I did this, um and and I think it was in between sessions, and she was like, wow, you're like the most put together person I know. You're the most mentally uh, healthy person. I don't know anyone out. And I'm like, but there is something. There is something that I haven't quite. I likened it to a sewer cap, like so locked down. And after we discovered the abuse, it felt like someone had taken off that sewer cap. Like I quite physically don't have that weight in my stomach. And I called her up to tell her she's a lifelong friend. And I said, hey, something that I never told you. There was a tremendous amount of abuse in my household, and I'm only just becoming aware of it myself. She was like, you have got to be kidding me. I'm like, I know. So
I couldn't believe it either.
right. So even
Heard it
she
too.
right. So even she was like, I was right there. I'm like, it's not that I lied to you.
Mm-mm.
No.
It's that I just shoved it all down because it was better safety for myself and everyone else in my family, if I just shoved it down. So I will say that even the people who are like, wait a minute, you are the most put together, self aware person out of anyone I know in my whole life, it provided so much relief for me. Um, because I always knew there was this gnawing, this heaviness that there was something underneath. I could not have gotten there without this.
I totally relate.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. Yeah. Yeah. Thank
Really
you.
makes my heart sing
Yeah.
for you.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
just, you know, the magic, really. I mean, it's not,
Really.
I mean, it's just, it's
Well, and as we always say, from here now, what gets to be possible?
from
Like
this place,
the
from this level of awareness.
the
Hmm.
expansion that you are stepping into, and this is just the beginning,
Yeah.
it's like it's
Hmm.
the key that unlocks something so significant. The door swings open, and then we have, you know, God willing, years ahead of us to go out and like sink our teeth into life and self-express and have these adventures and have our soul just like light on fire with what's next, because we're not being held back by the weight of all of the stuff that the invisible baggage that we had been carrying.
Yes.
And
That's it.
that's what everybody wants. That's what
Right.
everybody wants.
Right.
And
Right.
it's
Yeah.
possible, like to
Yes.
allow our souls to completely sing out into the
Hmm.
Leash.
unleashed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
it's so
that's exactly the way it feels is that I dabble in things now. I was like so serious about everything before, like this is going to be the thing. Now I'm like, oh, I'm going to do a little of this
good
and a
with
little of
this.
that. And it's allowed me to then funnel down again into what matters and really then explore deeply something that is so life affirming. Um, yeah, yeah, it is. It's soul singing.
It is. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's the pearl of great price.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing your
Okay,
experience.
lots of love. Absolutely. Thank you.
And just thank you
Appreciate you
so
so
much.
much.
Love you, sweetie.
Love you. Bye.
Bye. Miss Terry.
Oh my goodness.
Love to have you pop on. There she is. All right,
There she is. Look at that.
let me pin your
Hello, hello.
video.
Hey, Terry.
Thank you so much for joining us and being here today. We so appreciate
Oh, my
So,
pleasure. My pleasure.
so much. So much. So,
So we would love to hear about your experience. I'm sure that as you
mm,
share, there are going to be many parallels to our stories and Tian's stories, but of course, everyone's
has the unique.
unique spin.
Mhm.
So, Terry, when it was about a year ago on a call like this that you listened to us share about this wild work with MDMA, and I'd love to hear where you were and what your life looked like at that time.
Sure. Yeah, at that point, I was feeling very, very trapped. I was in a situation where, my whole life I had always taken care of everybody else. And, um, I totally self-abandoned. I didn't, I would do little things here and there for me, but it was mostly my role was always taking care of my family. And so I was in a situation where I was, again, taking care of, I was taking care of my brother, I was taking care of my grandmother, my daughter, my son, my grandson. And I just had nothing that was me. And I was unhappy where I was living. I was just feeling trapped. And I couldn't see any way out. So I was depressed. I was very angry. Um, I can remember I could not look at myself in a mirror because
Really?
because I did not like what I saw. I wouldn't be in pictures. I mean, I um, just totally shut down.
Yeah. Yeah. And the pain of that, Terry.
Oh, the pain was awful. And I had done everything. I was in counseling. I had done
All the programs.
all the programs. I had done the coaching you had done, and and I could coach other people.
Mhm.
I I knew all the stuff. I could coach other people, but I could not make any progress myself.
Yeah.
So, and and I had been raised to be told that I was not intelligent, um, and that I was just going to be a housewife anyway, so it didn't matter. And so when I was unable to get unstuck, it was confirming what everybody else said. But there was a part of me that knew there's more to me. There's something more to me. That's not who I am. But then again, every time that I couldn't move forward, it's like, well, maybe they're right, and that's where I got stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what did you think, Terry, when you heard about the process with MDMA as medicine? And
Yep. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, when I first heard about it, it was like I was excited because I'm like, there's something different. This is different. This is not what I've experienced, and maybe this will finally be the thing. Um, and I knew you two from before,
yeah,
and I knew that you guys always did great work. So I thought, well, I can trust them. I know that they're going to do something good. Um, and so I thought, this is something I need to explore. And I did, and I reached out, and Judy and I had that conversation. And then I went right back to
mm,
my pattern of, you know, I can't do this because I don't have time. I have all these expenses with my granddaughter and attorneys and all these things going on. And I can't do it. And yeah, and so fortunately you were bold and called me out. And
I know. Okay, Terry, let's talk turkey here. I know.
exactly, exactly. And I remember reading your message, the beginning of the message. I'm like, she doesn't understand. She just doesn't know. And by the time I got to the end of it, I'm like, oh, she's right.
I know. But that's so natural. That's so natural, especially when we have not done things for ourselves. We've been taught,
We've been trained
we've been trained.
to self-abandon and be there for everybody
Everybody else. And
We're the last one on the list.
I mean, all those people that described, they all needed first, and I don't need this, and whew, and that just gets trained into us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Terry, what has changed? Where are you in your life now?
Oh goodness, my whole life has changed. Yeah, I mean, yeah, honestly, um, after the first journey, I had always wanted to move back to South Carolina. I was living in Kentucky. I was so unhappy there. I did not like it. I didn't like winters. I didn't, I didn't have a group of friends here. When I lived here before, I just loved living here. I had a great, group of supporting friends. I had a wonderful church. I mean, near the beach, like what can go wrong near the beach, right? But so I just really wanted to move back, but I was afraid if I moved back here, I was letting everybody else down. You know, what if my daughter needed me there? What if she needed me to watch for children for her? Or what if she needed me just for some moral support? And my brother moved up there to be near me. Um,
Yeah.
and he had a lot of his own health and emotional issues. And I was like, well, that's going to leave him alone in a place that he didn't choose. He came here for me. And now all of a sudden I'm leaving him is how I thought of it. Um,
So you're abandoning your brother, you're
Everyone.
abandoning your daughter, your
right,
grandchildren.
right,
Yeah.
right. Right. It's exactly how I felt, and how I was going to hurt them is and will this destroy my relationship with them? Because that was all I had. I valued my family, but after that first journey, it was like, whoa, I need to do this for me because if I'm ever going to be happy, I need to go where I'm going to be happy, and I know that's not here. And so I did. I decided to
Kinda
move.
like you had like a moving truck, like, booked, like, 2 days after you
I did.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest fear was sitting down with my daughter and with my brother and telling them that this is what I decided to do. Um, with my brother, it was a little easier. We talked about it, and I said, this is really what I want to do. And I said, I know this is like leaving you in a tough spot. And he's like, "Are you kidding me?" He said, "You're giving me permission to leave because I'm not happy here either."
Ah, perfect.
So it was perfect. And it was like, here I had been, and he told me he was staying because he thought I needed him.
Ah,
So we were both doing that. And then when I talked to my daughter, she's like, "Mom, go be happy, go where you're going to be happy." And so, yes, then the moving truck was booked. The house went up for sale. I found a house in South Carolina and moved down here at the end of October. And it's just been amazing. So, I've continued to have more journeys and dealt with more issues and dealt with things that I didn't even understand were trauma. Um, but when as we got into things, it was like, oh wow, that wasn't good. And I can remember, Judy, you telling me, especially the first time, and I caught myself later that I would be telling you stories and I would laugh.
yeah.
Because it was kind of my way of saying, "Oh, but it's okay," or "It's not so bad." Um, and I caught myself moving forward doing that, and it's like it's not funny. It's not funny, but to really look at it and see the reality of what was happening or what had happened and how I internalized it and it could see that connection. Um,
How you normalized it.
how I normalized it.
That was normal for
Absolutely.
you. And so in order to cope,
Right.
feel safe within the trauma that occurred, ah, if I can just laugh it off, and
Right.
I just wanted you to know, honey, it's nothing to laugh about.
Nothing left.
Like to
Right.
invite you to feel the grief.
Right. Absolutely.
And
But,
you
and I have to say that one of the most important things of doing that and the way you did that for me was, like you were talking about the safety. And, for me, I didn't have a safe place. I didn't have a safe person growing up. So to sit there and tell my stories for the first time, and be vulnerable in doing that, and to have you there as that compassionate person to hear my story and to make me feel loved anyway was huge. And it was like, okay, I'm not so bad. I'm not a bad person. And, that was so um, invaluable to me to be able to continue to just dig in and see myself as not such a bad person. I always thought I was just, incapable and not a good person. And that all changed with this experience.
And that's the most like, if anyone here knows Terry, that's the most insane and ludicrous idea in the world. Terry is like the biggest hearted, most compassionate, kindest woman, and that would be the image, the self-image that you took on and that you've carried through your life is heartbreaking. And thank goodness this process has helped you to finally be able to see yourself clearly. And it's so true. What we hear all the time is like so many women inside of a journey sharing their stories and being met with unconditional love and compassion
And
and
acceptance.
and being truly heard and seen, that so many of them say that's number one, they share things that they've never shared with a single soul
Exactly.
else on the
Mhm.
planet.
Mhm.
And they'll say things like, I I have never felt so seen. I've never felt accepted like this. And it does something to our nervous system when that happens.
Well, and it does something to one's identity because,
Mm.
Terry, you began to see yourself properly for the first time, like, "Oh, really?" Like, well, I mean, I was led to believe that I was like nothing, and I was just kinda, like,
Right.
tossed to the side, and I was a slave girl and, all the different things that little girl, that teenager, that, that young woman took on as your identity,
Right.
and then waking up and going, "Wow, maybe I'm not that.
Yeah.
And if that's not true, who am I?"
Right.
And that
Right.
just began to, like, blossom, like, just whoo.
Absolutely. And I always knew there was always a feeling inside of me that there was more to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I couldn't tap into it. I could not.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right. I would see little bits and pieces. I remember telling you that first
Yep.
I've seen bits and pieces of her, but I really don't know who she is.
Yeah.
But now I do.
Now you do.
But now you do.
Now you do.
But now I do. And now I remember sitting outside one day, um, not too long ago, and just thinking, this is what joy is. I mean, to just feel joyful. I sat outside the other night and, my gardenias were blooming and I love my gardenias. So my gardenias were finally blooming and I was sitting outside and it was peaceful and quiet and the breeze was blowing so I could smell the gardenias. And I just sat there just like, I can't believe this is my life now. It's less than a year and I have completely changed my life inside and outside.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
started because you changed it inside.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it can't not help but out picture into our environment. It has to spill up and
Yeah.
over into all of that.
Right.
Well, what I see, Terry, too, as where you have, whew, shed all those old beliefs that were handed to you about who yourself, your sense of self and your worth and what you took on because yeah, I mean that's what you're told basically.
Yeah.
Um and how you've blossomed and then how that you continue like the onion is peeling, you continue to go to deeper levels of even what is more what more is possible for Terry.
Mm.
What
No, absolutely.
like, this isn't the end
Absolutely.
of the story for you. This is
No.
actually just the beginning of the story for you because you've shed all that stuff.
Right.
Stuff will continue. I mean, our lives will continue. We will shed like a snake.
Mhm.
But then from here, as you said for Tian, like from here, what is possible
It
now?
is possible.
And
Right.
that is where you're just beginning to like wake up to even more possibilities because you don't have that baggage that you're carrying that you're, oh,
Right. Exactly. And I remember the first journey was like, "Oh, this was amazing, Yay, I'm healed," right? But then more started to come up and more started, I started to think and then I was like, "Okay, let's get curious about this. Let's do this again." And that's what I've found is like, it is the continued work. It's not just that one off. And it's, it does as you feel safer and as you feel better about yourself and as that, as those healings happen, more and more and more things, but you talk about being expansive and it's like I'm so open right now to like whatever comes along, let's go explore,
let's do it.
Uh, I started painting, never painted before. I started doing things
Journaling like crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
journaling, yeah. Oh, I didn't like journaling before. Now it's like everyday thing, right? And the other thing that I noticed is like I can go out. I used to fret before I would go out to be with other people about what am I going to wear, make sure my hair is okay, make sure my makeup was perfect, I mean, because that's what I hid behind for so many years, was how I presented. Um, and I noticed one day, I don't do that anymore. I just go and enjoy my friends, and I can be myself, and I just don't even think about it anymore. Where before it was a laborious, preparation to go anywhere and be around other people.
Mhm.
So, yeah, the freedom is just unbelievable.
And you were taught that too, Terry.
Oh, absolutely.
You were taught that
Absolutely.
growing up, that
Right.
you had to look a certain way, you had to present a certain way, and if you colored outside the lines, that was not okay.
It was not okay.
Now you're just all outside the lines.
Yeah. Well, outside the lines, and it's messy, and it's okay.
Messy good.
So, Terry, what would you share to if there's a woman here that's sitting and listening to this and resonating with a lot of what's being said, but still on the fence, like
Mm.
asking, can I do this? Like, is this my next step? Or even like, am I worth, um, you know, taking this journey? Because a lot of stuff around our worthiness comes up
Mm.
around like, when we're really doing the work to advocate for ourselves and like really fight for a beautiful future for ourselves. Sometimes stuff around deservability and worth can come up.
Take up that
Um,
much space and
so
selfish.
what would you share for any of the women here and also on the replay who are listening and thinking like, I think that this might be my next step, but I'm afraid, I'm uncertain.
And some people are concerned about, the MDMA itself in terms of the medicine
Yeah.
because
Right.
they don't see themselves as someone probably never even, smoked pot in high school or, things
Yeah.
like
A
that.
and that was me, and I also had, some reactions to medications and everything. So, yeah, I was very fearful about that. Um, but, you know, I know, Judy, you had done, you went did the homework. You said, you answered all my questions. You made me feel very comfortable about it. Um, and it wasn't what I feared. I mean, it was, I did have full control. I was, but it did just what you're saying. It just took that took that layer of fear away, and it took it just made me able to tap into, what I needed to tap into. But for me, I did do counseling, but I always tried to find counselors that, were in my network. So because heaven forbid I would like actually like spend on me or choose me. Um, but I found that for me now, I look back and I'm so glad and so grateful that I invested in myself, invested my money, invested my time, because it absolutely changed my life, and I'm now living joyfully. I look in the mirror without a problem. I take pictures without a problem. I know who I am for the first time in my life, and I can, I hold space now where before I shrunk. And, I can't say enough about what this has done, and how you two have been, how amazing you are, and being that coach and standing with, right beside us, and, holding that space with us. Um, I mean, anybody who has the opportunity, I can't say enough
Oh,
about it. And, you go for it. It changes your life. It changes your life.
It does.
it changes your life.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
Oh,
sharing your experience. It's just been such an honor and a privilege to stand with you and to
you're such
have
a
a
you're such an amazing
you
human.
are and to have a front row seat to
Thank
your
you.
transformation.
Yeah,
It's just
it's so much. It's such a pleasure,
it
such a
is.
pleasure. And yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit here.
I know. It's like what's
Absolutely.
next? So exciting.
What's next?
That's right. What's next? We'll see.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Terry, for being here.
Thanks,
We so
Terry.
appreciate you.
Thank you. Love you guys.
All right.
Okay,
Well, we'll
back to the slides.
bring
Bring it
this in for a landing here,
into the land.
ladies.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
taking deep breath around that. It's just always
Really.
just to be in the presence of
Mm.
not I've been in so many rooms and heard so many testimonials over time, and to really be in the presence of transformation that has happened like at the cellular level is always it just blows my mind.
Like real.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes my heart sing.
So if you've been listening to us and then to Tian and Terry share, and you're thinking like, okay, so this kind of feels like me, or maybe this really feels like
Okay.
me.
Tell me more.
So what would this actually look like? So the journey process. So the journey has three components to it. So there's the preparation phase, the journey itself, and then the integration. So the preparation and where we would actually start is having a conversation, a complimentary discovery call to see if this feels like this would be the next right step for you, and if you choose to go through with the journey and to have this experience and to give yourself this experience. We start off in the preparation phase with setting intentions so that we know what your intentions are going in to the journey. What specific areas do you want to be working with? We do a whole health and readiness conversation, and it's really just a phase of creating safety and clarity around what that journey actually is going to look like for you. So then the journey itself, we block a whole day, and you would be getting on actually a Zoom call just like this with one of us. And many people are like, "Oh my gosh, you do this
Really?
like virtually?" So we actually have found that doing this virtually works even better than doing this in person. Number one, you can be anywhere, in the United States, around the world. We can literally work eye to eye. And what I can promise you is that very quickly we lock in, and we were literally in the journey with you for 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
Um, we barely even take like a quick break to pee.
It's
Um,
it's kind of we always say, well, we should at least take a 10-minute one in there somewhere.
and there was like 3 minutes. We're like, okay.
But things are going fast. I mean, it's just like, oh, we just want to stay in it.
So what this looks like is that you choose, a sacred day that you're taking for yourself. You get all snuggled up with your favorite blanket in your favorite chair on your couch. You have your kitty in your lap. You have your dog at your feet. And we get on Zoom and we have this experience together, and we guide you through the entire day. And again, as all these ladies have shared, you're still completely lucid. You're in your right mind. You're able to speak. It's, you're present and you're aware, and we know what the intention is going in. And then we see also sometimes the session, we always say that the medicine seems to have an intelligence of its own, and so we
Yeah,
go with
we
what
honor
that
that.
intelligence is.
Mhm.
And then after your journey is the integration phase, and this is absolutely crucial. So this is where you have personalized follow-up support, and it's really about turning your insights that you have from the journey into real life change. And this is helping the shifts that you've experienced to actually really stick. So this is what the journey process looks like.
And the truth of it is this actually isn't magic. The medicine isn't doing the healing. You are. The medicine simply creates a state in where the healing becomes more accessible. So you might wonder, who is this work for? Is it for me? Um, you've done a lot of work and you still feel stuck.
Mm.
It's for you who know that there's more inside of you, like both of these ladies have been talking about,
Yeah.
just knowing there's something more.
Like that felt sense, like I can't access it, but I just know
Yeah,
it's
but I
there.
know it's there. It's for you if you want to literally get to the root and not just manage symptoms. And if you're really ready for real change, you are not broken. That is the truth. You are not broken. You do not need more muscle, more willpower,
Discipline,
discipline,
stop playing small, white knuckling,
right thinking.
more mindset.
Yeah, you may simply need a different approach. So here would be the next steps. If there's something in you that's feeling, oh my God, this is me. we'd love to talk with you. What you would do is book a complimentary discovery call. Um, just send a message with questions at kateandjudy.com, or respond to any of the emails that you might have gotten from us, anything on social. Um, and what we would do, just explore together whether this work really feels like it's your next step, that if it's aligned with you. We'd have a chance to get to know one another, what your needs are, what your desires are, and to see if this feels like a right fit for you.
So if you'd like to book your discovery call, again, just email us at questions with an S at kateandjudy.com.
The life you're longing for may not be on the other side of trying harder.
Mm.
Imagine that. What if it's not that you have to just try harder,
Mm.
work more? It may be on the other side of finally feeling safe enough to receive it.
This really is a journey of often realizing that the problem that we thought was the problem wasn't the problem, and that the solution that we've been given all along that we thought was the solution isn't the solution. What we hope that you walk away from here today with is really understanding at a different level, perhaps kind of pulling the curtain back about what really has perhaps been holding you back. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're stuck in every area of your life, but you just know that there's a muted expression. Your own expression has been dimmed in some way, and that you actually, as those two ladies, as Terry and Tian shared, that there's actually more inside of you that you sense. You have like a felt sense and an intuition. And what we're here to say is that you're right. There is more inside of you. And perhaps a different approach is what is going to be the key that unlocks that door for you.
And that trust yourself. Trust yourself that if you have this intuition, before my first journey,
Mm.
I knew that there was something kind of tapping on my shoulder, and that I've been kind of really searching for, like, for a lot of years, that I knew that there was something more contribution, and there was still some old stuff that was keeping me smaller than I wanted
Yeah.
to live.
Yeah.
And it's a hard place to be. It's a hard place to be, to know that there's something there that was holding me back, and it was me, and I didn't have access to it.
It haunted us.
It
It
haunted
haunted
us.
both of
It
us
did.
for
It did. It
years.
did.
Yep.
And if you can relate to that, my guess is many of you can. I think we're all much more alike than we are different.
Yeah.
That we have that little place in us that doubts ourselves, but then also knows that that doesn't have to be the way we live.
So if this is speaking to you again, we would love to have a conversation with you. It's a totally relaxed, no pressure conversation to see if this really is your next right step.
And we want to get to know you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, you can email us at questions at kateandjudy.com. And we thank you so much for being here. And for those of you that are watching the replay, for sticking with us to the end. And we are just sending you so much love. Thank you so much.
So much love.
Bye, ladies.
Bye now.
Take care.
Thank you so much for joining us for this special episode of The Becoming. We hope this conversation helped you to see yourself with a little more compassion and a little less judgment.
Mm.
Because if there's one thing we want you to take away, it's this: you are not broken.
So often, the behaviors and patterns we criticize in ourselves are actually intelligent protection strategies that once helped us to survive. And when we understand them, we can finally begin to transform them. So if this conversation resonated with you and you'd like to learn more about our work, feel free to reach out to us at questions@kateandjudy.com. Until next time, keep becoming who you were always meant to be.